So it is August 12th or 13th or something like that. Today is a post-hunt gear dump. I didn't have time to do one pre-hunt, so I'm gonna talk about the gear I brought, how I used it. You'll get to see what condition it's in, coming basically right out of the field because I haven't had time to go through this stuff yet, and I was waiting until I had time to turn the camera on and the weather was halfway decent. It's been kind of raining on and off all day today, so some of this stuff stinks pretty bad. Successful sheep hunt, put a ram down at 7 a.m. on August 10th, day one of the hunt. It was an awesome hunt. Obviously, we'll talk about that in the podcast, which will come out in a few weeks. We'll talk about, and I'll have a film, and there'll probably be a lot of information coming out about it. I'll have specific gear reviews for some of this gear. That'll be separate videos from this and whatnot. We'll start with footwear. Kenetrek Mountain Extremes. First time using these almost at all. Wore them a few times before I went just to make sure my feet liked them okay. I'm not one that has a problem with foot pain, hardly at all. But what issue I ran into with these is they did not come with the stock insoles, and so I bought the Superfeet Blue because did a quick Google search, and that's what it seemed like was closest, and it was the quickest, easiest thing to get. So I bought these. Oof. And I'm not super happy with them. I had more foot pain on the bottom of my feet than I've ever had before. So obviously that's not a problem with Superfeet, that's just the way my feet are. So I have another pair of Kenetrek boots that I love, never changed the insoles, they're awesome. So I've got another pair, I've got a pair of stock insoles for these on order for an upcoming hunt that I have in a week or so. We'll go first Lite socks, whichever model socks these are. I think they're the lightweight or midweight merino sock. These ones, I use some Darn Toughs. These ones were by far, these are the ones that my feet like the best. And obviously if it's hot out, those are uninsulated boots, but the merino helps keep smell down, and it's the softest that I found that my feet like. Once again, First Lite merino. I think First Lite's kind of king when it comes to merino. These are gross, but First Lite game bag brief or game bag boxers, or however they sell them. But these are awesome. I own a couple pairs of them. If they weren't like $40 or $45 a piece or whatever it is they are, I would just wear these all the time for every day. But for hunting, can't beat them. And then once again, merino, First Lite. This is the Wick hoodie, by far my favorite lightweight hoodie that I own. I own a couple of these actually. This looks like it has some new holes in it from pack wear and whatnot, but it's also got sheep blood on the back from the back of my pack, and it's quite smelly, but this is what I wear as a base layer on top. It doesn't come off until the hunt is over. That's my go-to. I wear this. I'll wear this even in the fall and in the spring when I'm working. I'll wear one of these because it wicks quickly. It dries a lot faster than most other merino does. Same with the boxers are basically made of the same material, and it dries really fast despite being merino, and it's very comfortable, very soft. And when I first bought this, I wore it for 1 week straight, taking it to work without washing it, and that's how long it took for it to actually have a noticeable smell at all, which is impressive. It has a smell now, but it's been through a lot. I wore this is my go-to pants. So a lot of this stuff, I did a pack dump last year. I don't remember if I talked about what I wore during the day on myself, but a lot of this stuff is the same thing every year. My De-Havilland, Stone Glacier De-Havilland pants. Just got blood on them there, blood on the front. These are my go-to hunting pant for the mountains still. They've been through the ringer, as you can see. But I'm a huge fan of these just massive dumps. I can just unzip those and just dump heat, and then they're not too hot, but as soon as I get it starts to cool down a little bit, or it's windy, I can zip them up, and they help with the wind. They help keep me warm. They're a little bit insulated that way. And some people are like, oh, wouldn't sticks get in there, or bugs? I've never really had them feel full of sticks, even climbing through alders, the way they're on the side of your leg. Never really had that be a problem. Yeah, bugs a little bit, but I know bugs on my leg don't really bother me. I hardly notice them down there. mosquitoes and chiggers and whatever else, horse flies, all the nonsense. If it's hot enough that we're dealing with up here. Some years, sheep season, I don't see a bug, it seems like. The gaiters, these are the Peax Stormcastle gaiter. And I think that's top of the market for gaiters. I don't think you can beat them. They're stiff. They've got, with the way the Velcro goes here, it creates this really stiff, rigid point with a nice strap that does not loosen up over time around the around your calf. And I have not had these fall down. They create a really good seal around my boot, and I'm able to usually splash through water higher than my boot if I'm fast and not get wet feet at all. Been a huge fan of these. I did see First Lite released a new pair of gaiters recently. I'm intrigued by them, but until, you know, if these wear out on me at some point, then maybe I'll try those. But until then, I don't have a reason to upgrade those. So I guess moving on from there, clothing that I had in my pack. One was the Sitka heavyweight hoodie. It's a great active layer. It's also a good layer that's thin and not really in the way if I need a little extra in my sleeping bag. The Ambient, this is probably what I used the most for insulation. It was for the most part a very, very hot trip. I didn't use most of my insulation most of the time during the day. I never wore anything but the Wick hoodie from First Lite when I was hiking. And if it hadn't been rocky and rough and brushy, I would have been tempted to go down to nothing but a hoodie and boxers because it was just so hot. But that's a little risky with the rocks and everything. It's not worth it, you know, especially being out there alone. But this I definitely wore the most next. It still is a somewhat active insulation layer with the fleece inside and everything. And so I would wear this if it got a little windy. It's not a wind layer obviously, but it gives a little insulation, allowed me to stay a little warm while I was glassing. Or just around camp. It's a really nice layer to wear around camp. It's comfortable. It keeps you warm when you're not moving as much and it starts to cool down, sends behind the mountains or something like that. The next piece of insulation is in my pack here still, I think. I used it only once or twice. There was one day I did climb up on the side of a mountain glassing the sheep that I shot the day before the opener, and I was up high enough and there was enough wind that I went ahead and put this on, I think with the Ambient, even just had both layers on, because I literally was laying in the rocks checking on him every few hours because he was up in the cliffs 1,200 yards from me. And so I would lay in the rocks, check on him every 5 minutes, glass around every once in a while, and I would just watch TV shows I had downloaded on my phone. This is the Stone Glacier Cirque jacket. I've had this for quite a few years now. It is well used, well worn, but it has not failed me. It's not an active layer, but it's still synthetic. I'm a big synthetic guy. I don't have anything down yet in my system. I'm considering maybe doing a jacket down in the future because it's more compressible and it's lighter weight. But this is what I had for that for now. And big fan, used it, like I said, once, maybe twice. I didn't take a layer specifically for wind like a Sitka Jetstream or Windbreaker or anything like that for weight. I really slimmed down my system this year. Wanted to be able to go light, go fast, and honestly, I was really happy with it. So on the wind thing, for rain, for wind, I've got the First Lite Omen Storm Shelter. Big fan of the Omen Storm Shelter. Been wearing it for years. I wear it on boats in Southeast in winter. I wear it to work occasionally. I've worn it on the North Slope in the village with some jobs up there, like siding work, you know, well, I'm warmer and more comfortable than everybody else. This to me, like, yes, it's expensive, but it's worth every dime. And I have certainly gotten my money's worth out of it. I'll probably be buying the new rain gear from First Lite that's lighter, more for mountain hunting. It's going to save me, I think, close to 1.5 pounds in both jacket and legs. And it goes from like this is a 4.5 layer, I believe it goes. I think it's a 3.5 layer, but they save a lot of weight. Sure, not as many features and stuff, but you know, a pound is a lot. So there's that. I also have the same pants down in here. I keep all my rain gear usually in this big stretch pocket on the front of my initial ascent bag. I'm a big fan of that. Makes it easy to get to. Pretty much always accessible. I did not even pull these out of the bag on this last hunt. There, once again, as you can tell, stained and used well, but worth every penny. It sucks to carry something you don't use. It didn't rain except for very briefly one evening after I killed my sheep. Moving on from clothing, I think that's it for that. And the stuff that's not in my pack, you have trekking poles. These are the Peax Elite EVA foam. I prefer the foam over the cork myself, and I've had these for 3 years now. They have lots of use on them, but I have not even had them begin to feel like they were going to fail or have an issue on my hunt this year while in the pack out. Really heavy pack out with the sheep. I think total pack weight was roughly 140 pounds. And I was just, you know, slogging along, and every once in a while, because of that weight and you're moving forward, I didn't lift it fast enough. It got wedged in a rock or a bush, and at least at one point, with it almost fully extended, it like flexed over quite a bit. And, you know, before I stopped and kind of leaned back to wiggle it out, and not even a little bit did it come close to snapping off or anything like that. No cracking or splitting. I was kind of shocked at how solid it was in that situation. And of course, you just can't beat something reliable like that. Of course, my bottom rubber feet that came on them are blown through. I have another set that came with them that have, I think, a little more protection to keep that from happening. I might pull those out before I go on my next hunt. I don't know. I also have bigger baskets. I was hiking a lot through tundra this year, and the bigger baskets would have been a lot nicer for some of that tundra because my poles were sinking a lot more than I like, especially when I stopped and would put weight on them and try to take a little bit of a load off. On this trekking pole, I have a camera mount. I think I'm going to do a separate video on camera gear that I took with me and what I used, what I didn't, and for anybody who's interested in that. Okay, Bino harness. This is the Vortex Glass Pack Pro Large. Honestly, it's a little bigger than I need for my Leica GeoVid 1042Rs. I've carried these for 4 years now, I think, for everything that I've done. They're range-finding, super clear range-finding binos. Absolutely love them. I have no reason to upgrade these. Like I said, the Bino harness is just a little bit bigger than I prefer, but this next size down is a little too small for these binos, and this is water resistant fairly well. It's got some DWR. I've also sprayed it with something, I think, and it's got sweat stains in the top of it because it was so hot this year hunting. I would stop and look down and there was just sweat dripping off my beard into the harness. I keep in the front pocket here, you know, permits and stuff like that. I keep my Skeletool. That's the Leatherman Skeletool CX in there. This is my primary tool and knife. All I used on it this year was the knife. I didn't need the pliers or anything like that, but having a tool can come in very, very handy in some situations with tripod malfunctions or rifle malfunctions or anything like that. Lens pen that I, once again, don't use too often, but it doesn't weigh almost anything, and is worth, I think, you know, is worth, I like having it in there because if it's really wet and foggy and you know, I have issues with my binos or my spotter at all, I have a good way to clean it off. I bought this little glass pack adapter expansion deal for this year. There's some garbage from some energy chews. I'm mostly in here. I have a compass with a thermometer on it that I think doesn't work right, or maybe I just keep getting upside down, but the compass works. And then I would keep like some of my extra batteries, an extra battery if my battery was getting low for the camera for the day, and my microphone. I've got several of these. I use them for different things. So I can put that on and try to have decent audio for my videos. We'll see how that worked this year, whispering into it. I don't know if it worked as well as I hoped, but we'll see. Then on this side, I have some earplugs, which I pretty much never remember to use, but I got them. Carmex, this is a first, or not first light, FHF little ammo pouch here where you can put 3 rifle rounds in. And it just attaches to MOLLE, so that's handy. I used 2 on my sheep, and so I had reloaded my rifle mag and had not reloaded this with some out of my bag yet. I should have done that, but I didn't. And then this is also from FHF. It's for a radio, like a radio harness. I initially bought it for my, hooked it over here, my GPS map, my Garmin InReach and GPS. But I've had an issue when it gets too cold, when these buttons are jammed against something. They will like get stuck and mess up the InReach, and so it won't work right when it's too cold. You have to let them kind of relax back into place. And so I had that problem with it shoved in here. So I haven't put it in here since I had that problem. I just keep it strapped on my Bino harness, just like this. It's not in my way there, and I always have access to it. I can turn it on. It's always within reach. And if I take it off my harness, usually I clip it to my belt or something like that. But yeah, that's essentially my Bino harness. I use this for one of my cameras. I will show in my camera gear video how I use this. It's quite handy for one of the cameras that I carry with me. And then on the bottom, I have my Javelin bipod from Spartan Precision. That just locks right into my rifle there. And this is what I use to shoot my sheep with. It is a handy tool to have. Makes for quick, easy, lightweight stability. And this harness or holster for it came from FHF. FHF makes a lot of really I like a lot of their, I don't have their Bino harness. I might try it at some point. Pretty happy with this one though, but a lot of their little MOLLE additions that they build for stuff are very well designed, specifically for hunters, and that I find, and so I use a lot of little things like that from them. Okay, glassing pad, as you saw it strapped on my pack, right on top. I will carry it either orange out or in, depending on how quickly I want to be spotted by other hunters. There's no orange law in Alaska, and so usually I carry it in just out of habit, but every once in a while, if I want somebody to be able to spot me easily, I'll carry it with it out. Still old Stealthy Hunter glassing pad. I have had this all over the state. I used the crap out of it glassing, sitting on it. I've almost left this probably a dozen times because I'll glass with my tripod, my spotter, and I'll pick up everything and walk and leave it laying in the rocks and forget it's there and end up having to go back and find it. So maybe I should leave it orange side up more often, but I haven't lost it yet, and it is due for the case to be washed. It looks like it'll come off the foam. But I didn't use it this year, but you can also grab it, fold it over, and it is a great rear rest under your rifle. Peax now sells a similar version to what this is, a little bit new, updated with some features, but I'm happy with my Stealthy one. Last thing that's not in the pack would be the rifle. It's a Tikka T3X, and with a Stealthy Hunter scope and crown cover. Once again, OG, and big fan. I've got a couple of these, got an extra glassing pad too, and it's just peace of mind. It doesn't weigh a lot, and I can strap this on my rifle, strap my rifle into my pack with that, and I'm not really worried about it too much when I take my pack off. Obviously, I don't want to bang it on stuff, but I can just kind of let my pack roll over onto stuff, and I'm not worried about, a thin little scope coat or something on my rifle, on my scope getting damaged. The last time I shot the rifle to check zero, I think, was on a deer hunt down in Southeast 3 years ago. I took it to the range, fired one shot, center bullseye. I'm 2.5 inches high at 100 yards, which sets me at 0 at 250, which is what I have shot with this thing for years. And it's obviously 2.5 inches most of the time. I can aim point blank out to about 300 and adjust slightly if I choose. Anyhow, I have carried it all around the state. Hadn't killed anything with it except for deer on that hunt. I've carried it sheep hunting for several years. I've carried it caribou for moose. Actually, one time it fell out of the door of my truck and landed on the scope on the ground. And anyhow, I just finally took it out a week before I left on my hunt and checked 0. I had to adjust it 2 clicks to the right. I will never take this scope off of this rifle. It has been extremely reliable. I would like to build maybe some kind of lighter mountain rifle, but this one is gonna stay with me. Rail right here is from Mountain Tactical, I think. It's an Arca rail with M-lock built into the bottom of it. So I can lock this into my tripod, which I'll show you in a little bit. And also because of the M-lock, I was able to, or maybe I used the other screw hole to attach my Spartan adapter into it, so I still can use the Spartan bipod as well as lock into my tripod if I need a longer shot or the situation is weird. Anyhow, that's my rifle. It was a 280 yard shot. I think I dialed like 3 clicks from that 250-0 and 2 shots because the sheep took a step right as I took my first shot. And I reloaded right away, and as soon as I had a broadside shot, took another shot right through the lungs down in like 10 yards. Like I said, love the gun. Ammunition I'm shooting, this is a 300 Winchester short mag. These are 168 grain HHTs from Hammer bullets that I have loaded in here, going 3,150 feet per second. It's definitely a hot load, but it shoots good. I have used this load in this rifle for 3 or 4 years now. Next here, this initial ascent pack. This is the IA8K. I use a ultralight, the HDPE Nalgene, which saves you an ounce or 2 off the regular one. Got all my stickers on there. I've been told that I should not carry Nalgene with stickers because of the weight, but I think they're joking with me, but I don't really care. I like my stickers. Mountain Creek water with a little bit of residual whatever last drink mix I used in there. My pockets on here. This one has Peax Kit Sack in it. I grabbed a couple of these right before the season this year. I like them a lot. They're really light. They're well designed ergonomically with their shape. They've got these little hooks on both ends so you can find them and grab them. And even when they're open, stuff doesn't tend to fall out of them. They kind of hold their shape, and so you can kind of open them up and have them in your tent. But in this one, I had extra camera batteries and stuff. Once again, I'll talk about that in a separate video. On the outside of the pack on this side, you've got your glassing, your spotting scope sleeve, and I carry a very small spotter for weight. So I keep both my tripod and my spotter, and there's also a small tripod. I don't see any reason to carry a tall tripod. I have, and I never keep the thing fully extended. I'm always sitting down glassing. So this is the, take this apart for a second here. This is the Aziak Ridgeline, which has the ball head on top with an Arca clamp. And so I can take my rifle and that rail on there, I can lock right into this Arca, lock it down, and this tripod is awesome. It weighs, I think, 20 ounces as it sits, and then you can run out 3 different levels with your legs, almost flat. It can go, and of course they do that, about that length. That is light, super small, but it's very rigid, very stable. I've had zero complaints about that. The head is a Tricer LP, the Tricer LP, and it has both threads on the bottom, so you can go into a standard thread interface on a regular tripod, or it has into the round on the sides an Arca relief cuts, so you can just slide it into an Arca head and lock her down. So this way I can set the tripod up, open up, set the ball so I'm straight, or if I want to be sideways because I'm at an angle on a hill and I'm trying to keep as low profile as possible, I can keep my spotter lower, even setting it up like this with the tripod almost flat, depending on the angle. And then I have a proper pan and tilt that works just fine. It's not as smooth and perfect as it could be. Like, I think it's the Tricer BP head that is quite a bit smoother, but it weighs quite a lot more. This head weighs like 5.4 ounces. So total right here, I think I'm 24 ounces, I believe, is about what this comes out to, 25 ounces. So ultralight tripod setup. I don't think you can beat it. There's also the Wiser Precision. They've got a couple of heads I've thought about trying. It all costs money. This works. This is what I'm sticking with for now. Spotter that I'm carrying is the Vortex HD 13 to 39 by 56. Very small. It weighs 2 pounds, I believe. It did everything I needed to do. Now I'm not a guy that's going to count rings to begin with. At least shoot a sheep based upon that. Although it is nice, especially when you're just looking at sheep, to count rings and other age and to nerd out on it. But, you know, pounds, you say ounces are pounds and pounds are pain. In this case, when it comes to spotting scopes, pounds are pain. And this is, like I said, it's 2 pounds or less. I don't remember it. It's very light. And a bigger scope, any kind of bigger scope, almost any size bigger, you're going up substantially in size and weight, and you're adding pounds. And I can hike a mile for a pound to look at a sheep a little bit closer. And, you know, and the truth of the matter is, I've probably got to hike that way anyway to really get a good look in that drainage or basin or whatever. And so at least at this point, I'll be sticking with this just because it is very, very lightweight. It comes with this nice neoprene sleeve and everything. Super happy with that. And, you know, I was able to tell everything I needed to tell about my sheep with it. This adapter right here, it is by far my favorite digiscoping adapter I have seen or used. So if you have an iPhone now, I believe they have magnets built into the phone. You would know if you have the phone, right? But if you don't, you can get a phone case, get a high quality one, don't get a piece of garbage. I love these cases from D brand. They have all kinds of ones with designs and whatever, but they're very tough cases and they're very high end. So they have the magnetic ring and this little locking point in the bottom. And so you just slap that on there and then you slap that on like so. And it allows you to switch to your zoom lens if you want to use that. And you don't have, and I don't have to change my case in the field. I don't have a case that is blocking my other lenses when I'm in the field. Literally, my phone is just like I always use it because I just always get a case with this. I use this ring for other things, accessories in the truck or whatever. But that, you just can't beat that. Quick, easy. It's very light. Throw that in the Bino harness, and it's good to go. I'm a big fan of that. It is from Epic. Epic spelled the old-fashioned way, E-P-O-C-H, Epic Mountain Gear. I don't think you can beat that system for how lightweight and easy to use that it is. All right, now into the main bag. I like this bag with the big horseshoe zipper. Boom. It's got a pocket right here that I never remember to use. I had all my food initially. These are my day bags of food. There's a video just released about the food system that I took and Dalton took, and we kind of compared ours. I had all of these food bags in one big sil nylon sack just to keep them organized and compact. But when it came time to strap my bag over the meat, I wanted the bag to kind of be able to spread out and hug the meat instead of being locked into like a center rigid thing that stuck out more. I wanted the weight close to my back as possible. And so I took them all out of that and I spread them around here, which allowed that to kind of stretch out. So got however many days of food I had left because the sheep hunt was so short. I've got at least, I think I've got 6 or 7 days of food left. One clothing item I did not cover is my Sitka merino bottoms. I will probably upgrade to First Lite at some point, but you know, they're just merino bottoms, usually just use them when I'm sleeping. The one thing I carried that I did not touch once except to shove it out of my way in my bag was micro spikes. I know I could probably get a little lighter case to carry them in, but this is what they came in. These are from Outdoor 360, whatever that means. I bought these at a yard sale. The guy never used them. They're a little bit heavier than like the Catula micro spikes, but they're essentially the same thing. And I bought them because there's a lot of vegetation up high in some of the areas I was in, and I wanted to, in steep vegetation, you know, grassy stuff, if it was slick and wet, these would have been a huge, huge deal. In this case, it was bone dry, like I said, almost the entire hunt until I was well on my way out. So I did not even touch these. I will not need these on my caribou hunt, so I won't be carrying them for that either. Cook system at this point is the JetBoil Stash. I carry this because you can do, you know, an MSR pocket rocket or something like that with a like a titanium cup, which is very popular. I'd say I'd seen it seems to be one of the most popular systems among backpack hunters, but you burn about twice as much fuel with that as you do with this. And the combination of, you know, the pocket rocket and this cup, I don't remember what it weighs. It's like 5 ounces or something like that, 5 or 6 ounces. This weighs about 8 ounces without the fuel can in there, and you need a lighter. Do with the pocket rocket too. And this has that ring on the bottom of it, a little bit bigger pot, so you can do a little bit more water at one time if you want. And it allows, and so you burn about half as much fuel, so you can carry half as much fuel. And so your weight savings are in the amount of fuel you're carrying instead of the size of, instead of trying to carry this tiny, tiny little stove. Still is pretty much tiny little stove, compact, whole thing's there. I do like it. I do plan on ordering the new one from Rough Ridge because this one, if you're not on really stable ground, it tips off really easy. I've spilled water several times that way. And the lid on this just is terrible. Absolutely terrible. The handle's good and all this stuff, but the rest, that's some of the other things about it I don't like at all. I've got the GSI, I don't know what they call this. It's like 12 bucks. It's a plastic cup with a neoprene sleeve and a lid. And I like a little insulated cup to have my coffee or tea in, so it stays a little warmer. I can enjoy it for a longer period of time instead of having to suck it down right away. Water system, I carried a 4-liter Hydra Pack and I think the Seeker system. And then I also carried a 3-liter, and kind of, 2 reasons for that system. One being, there's that, still got water in it, it's got it. One being is backup, that way if one does pop, I have another. Also, this is my filter system. So this right here is, you can buy this up by itself or with the bag, about $40, and it's a filter. So you literally can just scoop the water up, pop that in there, drink it, squeeze out of the bag, and it filters as you go. Best system I've used yet. Water filtration and storage. I didn't need to do much, but a little bit, and it's nice. GSI titanium spork. I don't even need to pull that out of the bag. Stealthy Hunter medical bag. I stick some extras in here, some ibuprofen, some disinfectant and stuff. Of course, I've used some of the stuff that came in it, and so I try to replenish that with my own version of whatever it is. Ammo wallet. This is from Magpul. Little rubber ammo wallet with, I carry 7 extra rounds, plus what's the 3 in the mag on my rifle and the 3 on my chest. So I have 13 total. Of course, I never usually use more than what's in the rifle. Sitka insulated hat. This is not the new model. I don't know It's got the Gore-Tex wind stopper in it, but I don't believe it's like the Jetstream hat. I think they have another, you know, they've got newer versions of this stuff out now, but I have had this for many, many years. And it's very comfortable, very nice. Sleep system. Tent is the Peax Solitude 1. First time I've used this tent, I bought it for this hunt. It uses you can either use the trekking poles to run it, or you can use tent poles that you can buy with it that weigh about 10 ounces, so you can leave it set up with your trekking and still use your trekking poles. I, for weight, use my trekking poles, and then because I was going light, I took it down and took it with me every day. That way I could just set up camp wherever I needed to and moved, and so it kept me mobile and light and fast. I like the tent. It had enough room in it for me and my gear. Just enough, just right. The vent system and the condensation was not a problem really at all. I did not get to test it in wind. Hopefully that happens a little bit on my caribou hunt. But I will have a separate review coming for this at some point later this season. I do not use the Peax Stakes. They're a little flimsy for Alaska's rocky terrain, especially in the mountains. I use the MSR Groundhog, the big MSR Groundhog, not the small ones. I have not had one of these fail yet. I have one in here that at some point acquired a slight bend, but I have beat these things, these ultralight by some standards stakes, into the ground with a sledgehammer in rocky terrain and not had them fail on me. They're awesome. Sleeping pad is the Big Agnes Zoom UL. It weighs, I think, 17 ounces. It is or maybe a little bit more, 18 ounces. It is the 25 by 78. It's the big pad, but I like a big pad that I can I'm not worried about coming off of. I like it, it's very comfortable, just enough insulation for most of the hunting that I do. The one thing with this pad is the valve is a one-way valve. It does not allow you to just like lock it open, because it just kind of shuts itself. So you have to keep your finger in there, or I keep this little adapter for airing something up, and I'll stick this into the valve and it'll let all the air come out. So I keep that with me with that pad. Pillow. I use this year the Exped Ultra Pillow. This is the medium. Loved it. Usually I will use, my previous pillow that I've used is the Flextail Zero large. I like that one a lot. It's kind of got a fabric, you know, sleeve and covering on it, but I really liked this one. It has a string that wraps around it that you just hook to the other side of the pillow, and it stays in place, stays put on my pad. You know, the Flextail one had like bungee Velcro thing or snap thing that came off very quickly, very easily. It was kind of pointless, I felt like, didn't really do its job. Very happy with this. I slept on it great. Only difference I might make is I might find, since this is the medium version, it was what was in town before I left, I might try to buy the large. But this was also less than half the weight of the Flextail one at like 2.5 ounces. Sleeping bag is, I keep this Sil Nylon dry bag from Sea to Summit in the bottom of my pack. And this is a synthetic bag from Sitka, the Sitka Kelvin Aerolite 30. Big fan. I've never had an issue with it. It's a center zip with a hood and armholes, which I really like that design. Favorite sleeping bag design by far. But the reason I use this bag instead of like a compression bag, because I can get it down to less than half of this size, is this allows me to put it in here without over compressing the fibers, and it'll send the length of the bag. But I can compress it if I need to while on the hunt, but I can keep it in there, kind of roll this up next to it, so it'll just kind of, as I stick stuff in the bag, compress as it needs to, and it doesn't compress a whole bunch. Obviously toilet paper, another camera mount piece. Like I said, I'll talk about this in another video. This is my kill kit. Kuyu sack here. So I used the Argali Guide Series High Country game bags. First time actually using them, putting meat in them. Big fan, huge fan. The material, the design, they're very tough. The bugs couldn't get through them like they can on cotton bags, and I had zero meat loss despite the heat. My knife was the Alaska Blade Works Thin Horn. This weighs like, I think with this Kydex sheath, it weighs 2 ounces. I don't have the metal. They have a little metal clip that comes on if you want to clip it on something. I just keep it in the kill kit here because I use my Skeletool for all my other knife needs. So this, I absolutely loved it. Caped out that ram with it, cut it up, only had to sharpen it a couple of times to maintain, you know, a good edge. First time I've carried this, but this is the WorkSharp. They're lightweight, they're really lightweight one. I have their field sharpener, the regular field sharpener with the 2 big stones and a strop and the ceramic. This just has a fine diamond and the ceramic. And before I left, I was trying out several different sharpeners on this knife, and the pull through ones I was trying to carry because it's really light and easy, but I just couldn't get it to take an edge. And I have another one of the diamond, like butterfly sharpeners that I couldn't, and I couldn't get it to take an edge. And I grabbed my field sharpener, I had an edge on it very quickly, so I bought this and it was the same way. I also have a toothbrush in here, you know, some gear repair stuff, tenacious tape, super glue, the repair stuff that came with my sleeping pad, and a few things. I think there's a sewing kit. Yep, sewing kit in here as well. A lot of stuff you hope you don't need, but occasionally I have, and so I carry it. A little book of waterproof matches, and usually an extra lighter. I forgot an extra lighter this year, but usually I have an extra lighter in here. This is another one of those Peax Kit Sacks. This is the small, the other one is the extra small. Once again, love it. It's really lightweight, really small. The structure is really nice. Flextail, the Flextail 02 is the air pump that I use. It is lighter than a inflate a sack. Obviously you need a little bit of battery. I think I filled my sleeping pad up 5 times with this. It wasn't that long, but 5 times and the battery didn't die. And this is just the adapter that I need. It comes with a bunch of adapters. That's the one that fits mine. So that's all I took. It just takes this little battery in here that you can plug into USB-C to recharge. And this whole thing with the battery and the adapter, I think weighs a little less than 2 ounces. Which is less than most inflated sacks weigh. This is the NiteCore NU25. It weighs, I think it weighs like 2 ounces or less. And in the fall, or in August in Alaska, you don't really need a headlight for almost anything, unless it's like really overcast and stuff. And then of course, you know, my inReach has a light on it. My phone has a light on it. So this is just kind of a backup that if I need a headlight, I have it in here, but it's light enough that I can justify carrying it. Didn't use it this year. This year I carried 40,000 milliamp hours of battery. More than I needed for the 5 days I was out, obviously. These are the NiteCore NB10000 banks. This is the 3rd gen one, and these are the new 4th gens. This 3rd gen one, which I've used in the past, I always felt like I never got as much power out of it as I should be able to. I'd get about a phone charge and a little more, and that was it. And that's also what I got this year. Whereas one of these, I can get 2 phone charges out of 1 brick, and these are actually a little bit lighter than the old 4th gen, or about the same. They're quite a bit smaller. Carried a lot because of the issues I'd had with this one. And even with that, they're lighter than like Dark Energy or whatever. These ones, I was really happy with these 4th gens. 3rd gen, not so much. This probably won't go into the mountains or hunting with me again. It'll be used for whatever camera gear stuff that doesn't, when I don't care about weight. These ones, really happy with. I won't need as many on my caribou hunt, obviously. It's probably going to be a max of 5 days. Something like that should be all I need. But anyway, that's the electronics bag. I have a pack cover. I carry a Sil nylon pack cover from Sea to Summit. I keep thinking about buying the Initial Ascent pack cover. It is a better pack cover, but it's what I got and it works. If you think I missed something, or you have any comments, any suggestions, stuff you like, don't like about my system, what I'm carrying, let me know. I like, honestly, this, I really like doing this post-hunt video with my gear versus pre-hunt, because I can kind of tell you how I used it and what I thought about it. Not a lot has changed from last year's gear dump, except for the experience I had with the gear, because most of it was new to me last year. But this all smells like sweat and sheep blood, so I'm gonna go get this stuff cleaned and cleaned up and ready for caribou hunting in a week. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe.